Hi everyone, and welcome to the Media Guy channel on YouTube. My name is Scott, and this is what I've been watching for this week. I only watched 2 movies this week, and that was mostly because I knew that this episode would be taken up mostly by me gushing about Gangs of London, so I decided to kind of keep it simple to not waste your time. So let's get started with those 2 movies so we can talk about Gangs of London. Wonder stars Jacob Tremblay, Julia Roberts, Owen Wilson, Mandy Patinkin, among others. It is the story of Augie, a boy that was born with a facial deformity who has been through many surgeries to correct it, but it's not quite right yet. But he is going to his first day of middle school. He's been homeschooled his entire life, and his parents have decided it's time for him to go to school with other kids. And Augie and his parents and his sister are fully aware of the challenges this creates. Other kids are mean and people aren't kind sometimes, and he's been sheltered from this for his entire life. So now he has to go out in the world and face the world. And for the first act of this film, I thought the movie was doing a relatively nice job of juggling all of its balls. It tells the story from Augie's point of view, for some of it, and then it'll change a point of view and go from another family member and so on and so forth. I thought it did a nice job of taking scenes and recontextualizing them to see it from a different perspective. But where this movie for me fell apart was in its second and third act. The plot points that I thought were kind of throwaway plot points become major plot points in the second and third act of this film, and it left me somewhat empty. I didn't have the emotional involvement in those what I thought were minor storylines than I did the big storylines of the film. And that's when I realized that the first act of the film didn't really juggle all the storylines correctly, because it didn't put the emphasis on the storylines that were supposed to be meaningful to me as the viewer. Like, there's a storyline with their family dog, and it's given to you in a couple throwaway lines, but then all of a sudden it's frontmost in the movie. And I felt nothing. And I think that's something that might have been lost in translation between the book this movie was based on and the actual movie. The downside to making a book into a movie is you can't spend the amount of time you need to develop these storylines with the characters. And that's where this feels a little flat. Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson do some good work in this movie. Jacob Tremblay is one of his better performances. It's not room quality stuff, but it's still pretty good. Supporting performances from Mandy Patinkin and Daveed Diggs are all well rendered. If minor storylines, I would have liked to see them more, and they're probably more in the book, but again, things had to be cut for time. I'm just not sure they cut the right things to make this movie work. Judas and the Black Messiah stars Lakeith Stanfield as William O'Neill, who was a small-time crook who turned FBI informant tasked in infiltrating the Black Panther Party in Chicago. O'Neill's main job is to work with and get close to Fred Hampton, the leader of the Chicago Black Panthers. Hampton is played by Daniel Kaluuya in a blistering performance. Daniel's young career has been full of great performances, but this is by far his best. It is jaw-dropping, it is electric, and you can't keep your eyes off of him while he's on screen. It's amazing. And so is the performance by Lakeith Stanfield, who, as he gets drawn more and more into the Black Panther Party, struggles to rectify his ethnicity with his job, and to juggle his beliefs as a man and as a human being with the beliefs of the FBI he works for, which is still led by J. Edgar Hoover. Both of the lead performances in this movie are soaring. So is the script and direction by Shaka King. The movie takes place right after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and you can feel that anger and electricity in the air in every frame of this movie. And at 2 hours and 7 minutes, this movie could have easily dragged on, but it is captivating from frame 1 to the final credits. I'm not in charge of the Oscars, but I would give a nomination to both of the lead actors and probably a win to Daniel Kaluuya. It is an amazing performance, and this is probably one of the best movies I've seen in a very long time, and probably one of the best movies of the year. And let's get into Gangs of London. It is a series that started on Sky and has moved to the United States, currently streaming on AMC+. AMC Plus has changed its format a little bit. It's split the premiere into 2 episodes. So it's 10 episodes instead of 9. And also, if you watch it on a Fire TV device, the numbering of the episodes is weird. So watch out for that when you get to episodes 8 and 9. But I digress. It was created by Gareth Evans, who is the creator of the Raid series of films, among others. If you are an action movie fan, The Raid is a movie for you. It is brutally violent and relentless throughout its running time, but absolutely electric to watch. If you get your hands on it, I recommend getting your actual hands on it. Get a disc, because then you can select your options as far as what you're seeing and hearing throughout the film's running time. I would recommend listening to the original Indonesian language soundtrack. The English dub is not very good, with subtitles of your choice. And you can also, on the Blu-ray at least, select the soundtrack you listen to. And I think the better of the two is not the original score. It is the score that was created by Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park. I think it's just a better score and fits the movie a little bit better. But this movie has influenced many an American movie. If you saw the movie Dread, Dread is basically a recreation of the Raid Redemption. And the movies of the John Wick series are very much influenced by this type of Indonesian action. Gareth Evans would go on to direct The Raid 2 and a movie called Apostle, which is on Netflix, which is not much of an action movie. There is action to it, but it's more dark and sinister. So now he's created this show, Gangs of London, for Sky TV. If I were going to compare Gangs of London to any property you might know, I'm going to say most probably reminds me of Game of Thrones. In that it throws you into a situation with about 100 characters, and you spend the first few episodes trying to figure out who everybody is, who everybody works for, and what they have to gain from the situation at hand. And once you sort that out in your mind, the show starts unlocking itself for you, much like Game of Thrones did. The Stark family of this series is the Wallace family, whose patriarch, Finn Wallace, is killed in the opening moments of the series by a boy that just took a job and didn't seem to know what he was doing when he was doing it. Because of Finn's death, there is a new head of the Wallace family, his son Sean, played by Joe Cole. He's a bit of a crazy person, bit of a hothead, and he now has to figure out the future of his family while also trying to find out who killed his father. And we see all of this through the eyes of his bodyguard and driver, Elliot, who has some secrets of his own. And that's basically the setup of the show. Father dies, son has to navigate the avenues his father was working in while also hunting for his killer. The first 4 or 5 episodes of this show have Red Wedding-esque turns at every corner. Shocking things happen almost constantly throughout the first run of this series. And it's aided by the camera work and direction of Gareth Evans, who directed the first 2 episodes if you live in the United States, the first episode if you live overseas, of the show, and did direction of most of the action sequences for the first half of the series. And the action sequences in this show are incredible. If you've seen any of his movies, you know exactly what to expect from this. Brutal, fast violence, and violence that you can see coming a mile away, but is still shocking when it happens. And it all leads up to what I'm going to call the dinner episode. There's an episode in which Sean calls his family to a family dinner where all of the storylines we've seen throughout the first half of the series come to a head. And what we see for the rest of the series is the family dealing with the repercussions from this dinner. But after the dinner episode, something strange happens. We go on a little side mission, and side mission episodes are always a risk with any TV show. They're almost universally loathed by people who like these shows. I'm thinking of Stranger Things here. The episode where Eleven goes to, I believe, Chicago was kind of one of the worst episodes of that show, and everyone somewhat hated it. But the side mission episode in Gangs of London not only reinforms character motivations for the first half of the series, it also is the best action episode in the series. Directed by Gareth Evans, it is shockingly violent in a way I've never seen on television outside premium TV before. It has one of the single most shocking shots I've ever seen him shoot. But like The Raid Redemption, this episode is shockingly intense and breathtaking. It is a great hour of TV and the best hour of TV of this entire series. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that when the show returns from its side mission, it hadn't lost a little bit of steam. The show is really picking up the pieces of the prior 2 episodes for the last 4 episodes. So it does lose a little of its shock value as it goes along, but at that point, all the pieces are in place, and now it's just playing chess, getting pieces in place for the final episodes. It's still really, really good and very compelling television and very well done, but it's not as, oh my god, have you seen this, as the first half was. But all in all, I loved it. It's not an easy show to get your hands on. You do have to subscribe to AMC Plus to see it, and AMC Plus is not the easiest subscription service. It's not like you download an app. You have to jump through some hoops to actually get it. And when you do get it, the order of the episodes might not be right. You kind of have to look out for that, especially on the Fire TV interface. Episode 8 and Episode 9 are actually on the same icon on Fire TV, and you have to click Watch Now, and then it gives you 2 options. It doesn't tell you which episode's which, and you just have to select the episode that you want to watch. It's a problem with their coding, not necessarily a problem with the show. The show is fantastic. It's coming back for another season. I can't wait to see what they do with Season 2, whenever that might hit. Pandemics are hard. But other than that, I finished The Amazing Race. I'm happy for the winners, although I didn't think I would like the final 3. I actually didn't like the final 3 going into the last episode, but they won me over once they started competing against each other and not within each other, if that makes any sense. It was an actual honest-to-God alliance that worked, so they kind of just plowed their way to the final 3. But once they started competing against each other, it was fun. I also started rewatching The West Wing. I'm in season 3 right now. I've made several attempts to get through the series, and I tend to get kind of burnt out on it, so I'm trying to kind of space it apart. I also started The Search Party. I'm in season 1 of that. Only about 4 episodes in, but I'm enjoying it so far. I also started watching season 3 of Westworld, which is more like a person of interest than the first 2 seasons. Person of interest being Jonathan Nolan's show prior to Westworld. I'm really glad I watched Screen Junkie's video about Westworld before jumping back into season 3, or I would have been completely lost. But I'm enjoying that more than I thought I would. And that is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week. If you live in the Midwest, ton of snow coming our way. Stay safe. Thanks for watching.